Hello everybody, Lisa Strickland here, your inflammation and autoimmune health coach. How are you today? So today I've come to you because what I'd like to do is teach you how to make some vegetable stock. Now I know a lot of my clients already know how to do this, but there are lots and lots of different ways, and there are lots of new people that have joined us. So this is a really important thing to know how to make, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a basis for so many things that we eat. And you know, we put a tablespoon of stock in here and in there for our recipes. Now actually having a really good stock that gives you lots of flavor and is giving you lots of goodness. Now unfortunately, most of the stocks that you buy in the supermarkets are going to have some sort of fillers and different things like that in it. And if we can reduce as much of that as possible out of our diet, it is a really good way to be able to start, you know. And we make so many different things where we need it that it's a really good way to be able to get lots of extra vegetables into you that you might not have otherwise. Because especially when they're doing the powders and those sort of things, and they're reducing things down into a powdered form, the goodness that was in them previously doesn't exist anymore. So being able to make your own stock, and literally what we're about to do is making, you know, a whole lot of vegetables in a pot that we grind up and we then stick in our foods to make our foods taste good. So how good is that? So what we're going to do is start off with, now I'm actually going to, now I have my Thermomix here to use as a blender, but I have done the process so that we're cooking in a pot, so that you know that it's not just me using my Thermomix, it actually is really good and easy to do in your pot as well. So here I have 200 grams of my celery. Now mostly you use just that part of the stalk, but I actually like a bit of green in there. Don't overdo it because the leaves sometimes can make it a bit bitter, but I usually put a little bit in. It makes your stock look quite green, so by the time you finish grinding it up. But literally all I'm doing is I am not doing it, you know, standing here doing all this chopping. That's it. You know, chopping it into bits like this and just literally popping that in to the pot. Okay, so that's 200 grams of celery. Okay, and that's where you get a lot of your water from to cook the stock up in as well. All right, so number 2 is a couple of carrots. Now I've got some smallish ones, so I'm probably going to put all 4 of those in because they're only tiny. Now, this is something that you can do. Look, there is no art to it in regards to how much, how little, and all that sort of thing. Now, in regards to my carrots, I don't actually peel them because I buy organic carrots, and there is lots of goodness in the peel. So I'm just going to cut those up. And if you're watching, let me know, send me a hi, or say I'm watching, or if you watch the replay, just put replay in there so I know that you're around. It's great to know, and I can answer any questions that you might have, so pop them in to the comments below as well. So these are the sort of sizes of the carrots. You're not standing here chopping forever, and you just pop them into the pot. Now, also 1 tomato. So you just chop the tomato. What I do is I cut it in half, and then I cut it into about 4 pieces lengthwise and just throw them in. So this is not, you know, this is not going to take you long at all, okay? Okay, an onion. Okay, actually I'll use this one. So you can use whatever size onion you like. This is a little bit of a smaller one. So what I do is, most of the skin is already off of that onion. I just literally, because we're doing it in the saucepan, I'll will just slice this quickly. Now I'm not going to be worried about too much of making it fine, but just it helps a little bit more. So I just break that apart a bit. But that will grind down, won't it, once we blend it all up. So pop that in there. We have 1 zucchini here. So I just chop the ends off that. Actually, I haven't washed it. I'll give me 2 seconds. All right, so what I do is I just, zucchini slices up pretty quickly, and you know, you don't need to make it too small because it breaks down pretty quick. Okay, so then after that we have, I make sure I'm on the right track and I haven't missed anything out. All right, yes, we've got 2 garlic cloves, which I've actually already thrown in there when I threw in my other stuff. Okay, so I did two lots of garlic, 2 cloves of garlic, and I am now got, okay, some herbs. So this is all out of my garden, and that's what I love about having my own garden. And you can have your own herb garden. It's not that hard to get your herbs growing, and especially with the weather that it is at the moment, it's actually one of the few things that are growing really well. The rest of it is finding it hard in this heat. So I just throw everything whole in. I'm not worried about stalks because I'll grind them up later when we make it into a paste. So I've got basil, I've got flat-leafed parsley. It doesn't really matter if you use curly or flat-leaf parsley out of the garden. I use some more basil, lots of sage here. I'll just break that up a bit into pieces because I do, with these sort of things, I do break them a little bit because it brings out the flavour more. And I've got my rosemary. Okay, so 2 or 3 sprigs of each. I'll just break up that parsley a bit. Then I throw in a couple of bay leaves. Now I have a bay leaf tree, so if you want to use your fresh ones you can, but I do have some dry ones here, so I'll just use those. So just put 1 bay leaf in there. That's optional. If you don't like it, that's fine. Now, because I have already made some stock that I'm going to show you in a minute how to ground up, I am making a second batch. So what I do sometimes is, depends on what you cook in your house. Now, my kids, we eat a lot of Asian soups and things like that, and they are very mushroom based. So what I like to do is I like to do another stock that has mushrooms in it as well. You can put it in normally, it doesn't really matter. It does make your stock go a little bit black, so be aware. Don't get worried about the colour. So, and then I just, I will slice those up and throw them in. So that just adds a little bit. So, you know, you can change your stock to however you like it to be, all right? So if you like certain vegetables or you like the flavour, so when you make your stock, if you make different stock that has a different flavour then that you like, then stick to that stock, you know, or just mix it around. To be honest, I have, you know, I don't think I've ever made a stock that tastes the same. It also depends on your vegetables. So it depends on, you know, the season, how sweet your tomatoes are, all those sort of things do make a difference. Now, what I also do with this is, because I'm doing it in the pot, we have got lots of celery in it. So you can actually just cook it all up and put the lid on. Okay, soften it up and put the lid on and let it steam. But if you don't have a non-stick pan and you're just being a bit more cautious, I would put about 1/4 cup of water in there with it. It actually gets everything going. So it starts that steaming process. And so all the water starts coming out of all the celery and all the vegetables. So you really don't need to add, you know, much into it other than the vegetables. Now, the other thing that we do is we actually measure out, we need 80 grams of rock salt in there. Now, you will find when you're finished that this stock is a little salty. You know, the original recipe that I used and transcribed from actually said 150 grams of rock salt, but I found that a little overpowering. So the thing is, right, this is a base for your soups or a base for anything that you're cooking with. So what you do is you use this and then you taste it later down the track for salt. Because a lot of the time I find I don't add salt to anything, because I just put a tablespoon or 2 of my stock in as necessary, and that actually has the salt content in it and I don't need to add any more. So these are the things that you can play around with, okay? If you don't want it as salty or you don't want any salt in it at all, don't put it in. So, you know, this is all about, I'm giving you, you know, a recipe that you can work with, And then you can find the things and work with what, you know, really you enjoy or works for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just wait for my Thermomix to turn back on because he got fed up with waiting for us. And 80 grams of rock salt, I'm just going to toss that in and then pop that in the pot, and we can put the pot on to cook. Yes, thank you. Okay, so here we go. So actually, also, the other thing is, you can use whichever one you want. I have Himalayan rock salt and I have just normal white rock salt. So, you know, it just depends on which you prefer. I tend to mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I use one and sometimes the other. I have the same amount, same different types of salts, just with my normal cooking salts as well. So it just depends on, you know, on your flavors and what you would prefer to use. I think they both have different benefits in regards to their vitamin and mineral content in them. So, you know, you can just mix it up a little bit. All right, so I've got my pot. I'm going to toss in, a little bit damp, my salt, because I measured it in my Thermomix. Has a scale in it, so it just makes it a little bit easier. Okay. And then I put in my 1/4 cup of water. Okay, and that just starts that steaming process. And I'm just going to pop it on the stove and put the lid on. All right, so that's that done. Now, this is one I made earlier. And so I wanted to show you. Okay, so this is the one I made earlier. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to pop it into my Thermomix. And you can choose to grind up the bay leaves. I had a couple more in there because I did a double batch, so I'm actually going to take them out. But a lot of the time I just grind up the bay leaves. Actually, I might put one back in. So, in preparation for the bottling, now, you know, you can find whatever bottles you like. If you want to get proper bottles, that's fine. I have a couple of favourite bottles that I use when I buy my peanut butter, my pure peanut butter, which has really easy labels to take off. And I love these because they have a plain lid as well. So these have all already been sterilised. So for those of you who haven't sterilised bottles before, please be very cautious because I don't want you to explode. You can explode these glass bottles, okay? So, and I don't want them to shatter because you can hurt yourself. So just what I do is firstly, I will put them in hot water. So I'll get hot water out of the tap and I'll just let them sit with the hot water from the tap in them, and that heats the glass up. So then when I boil the kettle, and I tip this out straight away and put just a small amount of boiling water in the bottom and move it through the glass, and as I tip it out, I pour some boiling water over the rim, and that's sterilised, okay? So do be aware and just put your boiling water into your lids as well. But just be very cautious and please make sure that you heat those bottles up before you start putting boiling hot water in them, okay? Because I don't want anyone to get burnt. All right, so we've got our jars. Now, normally that amount of vegetables will probably be about maybe 2 of these bottles. It just depends, okay? So it depends on how accurate you are with your weighing. It depends on the size of the vegetables and, you know, all of those things that come into play. Okay, so I'm now going to grind all this up. So you pop it all into your blender, and then, okay, we got to go back this way, and this is going to make quite a bit of noise, okay, because we have got to grind it really well to make sure that it is paste, because we are making paste. Okay, so here we go. You need to get it up there. from that noise, and I'm just going to have a peek. Now usually you would do this when it's boiling hot. Well, actually that may be all right, but this is a bit cooler because I did make it a little bit earlier. And yep, and that will be just fine. So, you know, it depends on the strength of your blender as to how long you need to grind that up for. But that was 30 seconds. So that was pretty good, wasn't it? All right, so then what I do is I then pour it into my sterilized bottles. Okay. So that's an art within itself, isn't it, really? See if we can manage to get it into the bottle rather than beside it. So I hope everybody's having a good day and really getting back into there, and you know, Happy New Year. It's January and we're back into a new year, can you believe it? So that break that we're all looking forward to came and went very quickly, didn't it? All right, so then what I do, excuse me a moment, I get a bit of my towel and I just wipe around that. Now, when you are cooking that pot of vegetables, and there we have it. When you're cooking that pot of vegetables, it takes about 20 minutes. Now, everything will be softened by then. It's pretty much steaming in its own juices, which is fantastic because you've got no additives, you just got vegetables. All right, so there you have, and you pop your lid on and it will seal with the heat, okay? So try and grind it up as soon as you get it off the stove. Be cautious if you're not using something like this, and you know, really you will find that, you know, that it will seal itself, and then when you open it, it will pop and you'll know that it's nice and sealed. So please, these will keep in the back of your fridge for 2 to 3 months, all right? So you don't have to just do one batch, you can actually multiply it. Like today, so far now, this will be my 3rd batch because I did a double batch and now my 3rd batch. And that will keep us for probably the next 6 months. So, but we do use a lot of stock. It may not, it just depends, but mostly it will be about 6 months. So, you know, just really think about the things that you use for the bases of your cooking, because you can improve them and really start to, you know, add extra nutrition into the food that you're making. You know, just think, this is all vegetables. Rather than using a stock that you buy from the supermarket that is full of things that you don't even know are in there, and things that you don't even, you know, half the time we can't even pronounce some of the things on our labels. So it's so easy, you know, you spend an hour and, you know, you can do quite a few different loads. You know, you can do 6 lots at a time if you've got a big boiler like I have, and get it all over and done with, grind it all up, bottle it all up, and all done and dusted, you know, in an hour and a half. So it really is important for your health just to spend a little bit of time in the kitchen, and it's not hard. It's really easy. It's literally chopping up some vegetables, sticking them in a pot, cooking them, and then grinding them up. So really think about improving your health. You know, the 6-week to reducing pain program is all about that. It's all about how we find all these little things that we can do that are going to add to our good nutrition. So really think about how you can change things. Now I'm going to start doing these cooking lives are once a week. So if anyone has any recipes or any ideas of things that they would like to cook or like to know about, please let me know in the comments below, because I would love your input, because what I'm doing is for you and for your health. So really talk to me and let me know in the comments below what you would like to see me doing some cooking with. Okay, take care, and I'll talk to you really soon.